Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Laura Foster here. Thank you so much for joining me. I just want to wait for a few people to get into the room, and then we're going to start our webinar. Awesome. So like always, I'm just going to get you to let me know that you can see and hear me. Good evening, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to start. I already said this, but I'm going to say it again. My name is Dr. Laura Foster. I know that many of you in this webinar know who I am, but there are lots of names that I don't know, which I think is awesome, because I want to talk about a topic that is near and dear to me. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself before I start in. So the first thing that I want to say is, hi. Welcome to Thursday evening. So I'm going to try and make this short and sweet and succinct and full of lots of good practical information. I have been a chiropractor for 21 years. This whole sugar detox program really came about because I have been a practicing chiropractor with families and individuals for so many years. I saw a need for a program that could walk people through from really being dependent on sugar and really non-nutrient dense foods and bringing them closer to clean eating in a way that they feel liberated from being attached to sugar over time. So that's how it all started. So I curated this 40-day sugar online detox, which we'll talk about a bit at the end. I also want you to know that I get all of this for a lot of people because not only do I work full-time and, I have a career and I have a home and I do all these things that you'll do. I also have 2 teenagers and I know what it's like to try and make a healthy lifestyle for 2 kids who eat all the time. Okay. So let me just catch on here because I'm not getting feedback from anyone. Don't you love this? Okay. So here's the thing. We are at the mercy of Wi-Fi and the internet gods. So I'm going to say 2 things. One is, if you are watching, the first thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that all your browser windows are closed, and you want to make sure that you don't have any teenagers upstairs that are also streaming Netflix on your bandwidth. That's going to make it difficult. If for some reason you're having a really hard time with the whole broadcast, you know what? Don't get frustrated. Just pop off, and because you signed up for it online, you're going to also get it in your email box. Thanks, Vanessa, for letting me know. So don't worry about that. And if for some reason I pop off here, just stay put. Your screen will go blank for a couple minutes, but then I'll come back in. Okay? So now that we have that all done, let's start talking about detoxing. So I'm going to talk about the 5 things that you need to know about sugar detoxing. But first, I just want to back up to go forward, and I want to say, why do we even want to do a sugar detox in the first place? Why is that important? How is this going to benefit you in any way? Because like all things, in order to have the motivation, you have to have a purpose. And so let's talk about what kind of issue sugar is having in most people's diet. In a word, it's having massive implications. It's huge. We are seriously a sugar addicted nation. The average Canadian consumes, as an adult, at least 88 pounds of sugar a year, 88 grams of sugar a day, which is roughly 21 teaspoons, 22 teaspoons. And just sit down for this if you're not already. Our beloved teenage boys especially are the biggest sugar addicts that exist. They are topping it out at 164 grams on average of sugar a day. That is 41 teaspoons. This number is not going down. This number is going up. It is a gigantic problem. 20 pounds or more consumed of high fructose corn syrup of every single Canadian every single year. That's massive. Not only do you not want to be consuming that much sugar, but the other reality is when we're consuming things like high fructose corn syrup, we're also getting a lot of genetically modified ingredients in our body. So we're really, in some ways, poisoning ourselves, not only just with the sugar, but also with the chemicals that are put into that. So we want to get past this. So these massive implications mean that we're having too much sugar. And here's the thing to keep in mind. I mean, I know sugar tastes good, especially when you're, hardwired to it over time, but sugar has no protein, it has no nutrients, it has no healthy fats, and also it has, from a nutritional perspective, it has no value, and it also depletes minerals when we digest it. So we want to get off of it because it is creating insulin resistance, metabolic syndrome. It is, of course, contributing massively to our giant national and international issue with diabetes and all the implications that that has. Sugar is not brain food. You know, the quality of your life is really the quality of your emotions. And I can tell you that sugar is so detrimental to your brain function. It creates moodiness and depression. It contributes significantly to anxiety. And of course, it creates all sorts of blood sugar irregularities. And I don't know if you've been hangry before, but I sure have. So having a nice stable blood sugar is not only great for you as an adult, but if you have toddlers, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Sugars, what else does it do? Hormone imbalances. It creates huge sleep irregularities, which without enough sleep, we pretty much up the scale on every major disease process that exists out there. Sleep is the regulator of your immune system and everything that goes on in your body. When you don't have proper sleep, it is very difficult to be your best self. You might know that if you have sleep issues. Hormone imbalances, digestive issues, big time. We're not supposed to be consuming this much sugar. Obesity, of course, when we consume too much, significantly increasing inflammation in the body. And that increase in inflammation leads to many things, notwithstanding, of course, heart disease and any type of atherosclerosis and cardiac disease, but also, you know, things like joint pain and discomfort that we exist within our body and autoimmune issues. I mean, really, it goes on and on and on, from skin to you name it. Really, the effect of sugar is that it's making us feel crappy. The problem is, and the second reason why you want to be sugar detoxing is because sugar is super, super, super addictive. It's not just that you like sugar, it's that it hardwires a chemical addiction in your brain, not unlike cocaine. In fact, an addiction to sugar is 8 times more powerful than an addiction to cocaine. And although I'd love to believe that most of you don't have a cocaine addiction, I'm sure you can recognize that having that level of addiction is something that's really difficult to just, you know, spontaneously rid yourself of without a plan. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Just so you know, when they have done studies by MRI and they are looking at the parts of the brain that light up, the brain reward cascade when people consume cocaine, it's the exact same places where sugar lights up the brain. So it's real. It's not just that you are trying to get off sugar, it's that your body is craving and craving and craving. And the more sugar you have, the more you hardwire that addiction, and the more difficult it is to come off. So sugar is made up of 3 components. It's made of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in roughly the same amounts as cocaine. The only difference is that cocaine also has a nitrogen. So my reason for saying that is simply to say, it is a big deal. Having a sugar addiction and having a connection to sugar means that sometimes your best efforts go awry simply because internally, without even recognizing it, you are craving and you're searching out sugar sources as you go. Now, of course, food manufacturers know this. They know the slippery slope and the addictive slope of sugar. And so you can believe that they have done whatever they can in their power to put as much sugar in their products as possible. Foods that we ate 20 years ago didn't have nearly the amounts of sugar that they have now. It's called a bliss point. Manufacturers know about it. They know that if they can get a certain amount of sugar in a product, that you're going to have that addiction and you're going to crave that product. Bingo, more sales for them. So the other thing that I'm going to say to you is when I talk to people about sugar detoxing, there are the people who will say without a doubt, that's me, I'm over here, I am a flag-bearing sugar addict. But so many of the people that I talk to will often say, not me. I don't really eat sugar. It's not something that really is in my diet. And I get it because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I don't eat candy bars a lot. You know, I don't eat cakes. I don't do desserts. I don't do treats. But the thing that you don't realize is just you are consuming it. You're consuming it in ways that you didn't know. And every person that I've ever had that's gone through the sugar detox, I would say without a doubt when I survey them, that's what they all say. I had no idea that I was consuming as much sugar as I was. So that's good to know because as you increase your awareness, as you decide that you're going to start to decrease the amount of sugar in your diet, it means that you have to be really aware of what you're doing and it's going to help you make better choices along the way. So let's share Well, I'm going to share some practical information about sugar detoxing. I certainly, in the context of this webinar, I can't go through all the foods. I mean, that's what I do in the detox. It's lengthy. It's a whole webinar in and of itself. But I can definitely give you some practical information so it's easier for you to understand, not only, like we talked about, why it is that you want a sugar detox, but also how you would go about it. So number one, first thing to recognize is that your body is actually detoxing all the time. I mean, we're naturally set up to do that. So what you want to do when you take on a sugar detox is you want to augment that. You want to make sure that your lifestyle is in alignment with detoxing, so you're optimizing it. By doing that, it means that you're going to get out of the craving sooner, which, thumbs up, is what you're going to want to have. So this is how you augment it. In order to detox or allow your body to naturally detox easier, you want to, of course, eat whole food. If you can't pronounce it, if you don't understand what it is, if it's got a lot of numbers and symbols on that ingredient package, rest assured your body doesn't know what to do with it either. And if you're consuming foods that aren't really foods, or foods that have a lot of additives and preservatives, chemical makeup, artificial sugars, those kinds of things, this is bogging down your liver and your kidneys to be able to detoxify on its own. So right away, just by simply turning towards more whole foods, you're going to be augmenting the detox process. The other thing is you want to hydrate well. Of course you want to hydrate well. When you hydrate well, then of course you flush things out and allows your body to function better. So how much is proper hydration? It varies, of course. It depends. Are you this age, that age? Are you this big or that big? You know, those kinds of things. But here's the general rule for people. Whatever your weight is in pounds, divide it by 2, and that's the number of ounces that you want to consume in a day. So for example, if you're 100 pounds, you would want to drink 50 ounces. And let me think, is it like 33 ounces is a liter? Don't ask me how much is a quart. I lived in the States, but I just don't remember that. So here's the thing. I would say easily try and consume 2.5 liters of water a day. That's going to help your system. If you don't like water, that's an issue. But if you don't like water, if you're not used to drinking water, if you have a hard time drinking water, if your body and your palate is used to soda pops and juices, which we'll talk about, and those kinds of things, then moving towards water can seem really bland. When you start to sensitize your body to sugar again, because you've detoxified it out of your system, then all of a sudden water tastes good and refreshing. But there's a few things you can do. I have an example here because I'm consuming some tonight, is I will take filtered water and I will put a few slices of lemon and maybe some frozen raspberries or a couple pieces of frozen fruit, cucumbers sometimes, mint, those kinds of things to just infuse my water. So one of these mason jars is roughly 800 milliliters. So 3 of these a day, which is quite manageable when you're used to drinking water, will definitely keep you hydrated. It'll keep your digestion proper. It'll make your skin a lot nicer and it will help you detoxify. So that's what you want to do. The other way that you increase your level of detoxification is that you want to sweat. So sugar detoxing is not the time to take on the marathon planning program, but it is the time that you can definitely start to move your body more. Sweating, of course, is a natural detoxification process. So not only do we detoxify, of course, through our liver and our kidneys, we also detoxify through our skin. So being able to sweat is a great way to get rid of that. The other thing I'm going to say is, when you're learning to detoxify, your main detoxifying organ is your liver. So what you don't want to do anytime, but especially when you're detoxifying, is you don't want to overconsume fruit. I know, right? We're so brought up to believe that fruit is the thing that's going to keep you healthy. It's loaded with vitamin C and all those kinds of things. The other thing you need to know is fruit is loaded with sugar, namely in the form of fructose. And fructose is a special kind of sugar because it's metabolized differently in the body than other forms of sugar. It's metabolized in the liver. So when your liver is trying to constantly detoxify and break down fructose in the form of fruit, high fructose corn syrup, which is made in a lot of the sugar in packaged items, then it has a very difficult time doing its job. And when it metabolizes fructose in the liver, it tends to lay it down as fat around the organ systems, which is super bad for your health. And that's also one of the main contributors to heart disease and atherosclerosis. So being mindful of your fruit in general is really important. Just know that fruit varies wildly in the amount of sugar that's in it. My top picks for low sugar fruit are raspberries, blackberries, and strawberries. Raspberries have 4 grams of sugar a cup, and blackberries and strawberries are roughly around 7. It's good to know because I recommend that the average adult consumes 40 grams of sugar or less a day, and that children consume 20 grams of sugar or less a day. That is a lot different than the average teenager who is doing 164 grams. Do you see the difference? Let me just say that again. I'm consuming like teenagers, so you could say they're not a kid and they're not an adult. So let's just pick something in the middle. Let's say that they should be consuming around 30 grams a day. They're upwards of 160. Massive, massive stress. And here's the thing. When you're eating sugar, you know what you're not eating? Other good foods. You're not, because you're filling up on sugar. So you're getting that nutrient void type of food in your system that's raising your blood sugar and plummeting it down, making you moody, making them hormonal, just making them feel crappy, really bogging down their systems. It's just a nightmare chemically in the body, and I know you see it sometimes. So be mindful of the fruit and knowing that high fructose corn syrup and fructose in general is metabolized differently in the body. But because sugar is addictive, it takes a while to unwire the addiction. It's true. Addiction creates cravings, of course. I mean, isn't that the obvious thing? Any type of addiction creates cravings. So because you're not very sensitized to sugar, when you consume a lot of it, it takes increasing amounts of sugar to satisfy the addiction. So as you detoxify, you will start to sensitize. People who people who live a regular low sugar lifestyle will really recognize that they do not need very much sugar in their diet for things to taste sweet, which is really the way it's supposed to be in the body. So recognizing that because there's cravings and addiction, it takes time, you can minimize the impact on your body. So this is what I want you to know. The actual cravings that we get initially when we start to pull sugar out of a diet and decrease it down to the 40 grams of sugar a day or less, when we start to do that, then initially you're going to have a hard time with it because your body's going to crave it. But if you can continue to do that for a few days, you very much start to unwire that addiction very quickly. And for some people, it can be rocky. I'll be honest with you. The first time I did a sugar detox, I seriously don't think I recognized how addicted people were to sugar. I may have had difficulty with a couple of the people in the program because I did not know that they consumed at least 200 grams of sugar a day, and they were seriously having a hard time. But don't worry, I've got that all wrapped up now. This is what I'm going to tell you about sugar detoxing. If you want to minimize that effect, you still have to take the sugar out of your diet. But this is how you smooth out the edges. You do not, listen to me, this is not the time to decide you're going to diet. When I mean diet, I mean do not caloric restrict while you're doing a sugar detox. Believe me, you will lose probably weight when you do a sugar detox. But at the beginning, that is not when you want to make sure that you're not eating. In fact, you want to do the opposite. You want to make sure that you're getting enough food. Because if you're not feeding your system, then of course your blood sugar is also going to be irregular. And put that together with the addiction, it's going to be difficult with you. So you want to increase your healthy fats. The healthy fats that I will say to go towards, first of all, whole nother webinar. But fat is not what makes you fat. Sugar is what makes us obese and inflamed and ill. You want to be consuming the right kind of fat. It's not French fried fat and fried vegetable oils and things like that. Healthy fat. Your body needs fat. Your brain needs fat. You need cholesterol in your body. It's all about feeding your body the way your physiology wants to be fed. So healthy fat, coconut oil, great thing. Avocado oil, avocado, ghee, which is clarified butter, delicious and tasty, let me tell you. Butter, specifically organic, grass-fed butter is even better. Raw nuts and seeds. There's others, right? You can have, low sugar or no sugar, nut butters and things like that. But increasing healthy fats, listen, fat is satisfying. It's tasty, isn't it? It makes food taste good. And when you have enough healthy fat in your diet, your body will love you for it and you will decrease your cravings. So the other part of that is you want to increase your healthy protein. You can definitely be a vegetarian and eat a low sugar lifestyle. You can definitely eat meat and any animal product, most animal products. On a detox, there's some that I recommend more than others, but the thing across the board that I'm going to say, and I'm not going to say this in detail right now, is you want to source it properly. There's a certain kind of animal protein that works best, and it's the animal protein that has been raised on the kind of vegetation and the kind of diet that they should be. In other words, a cow is supposed to eat grass. A cow is not supposed to eat grain. So I'm going to tell you, source grass-fed beef over grain-fed beef. You want wild fish, not fish that have been raised in farms. They're not supposed to be eating pellets and food dyes and antibiotics. Fish are supposed to forage in the sea, not in a pen, okay? You want to do that as well. Of course, it comes the same thing with chickens. You want to get pasture-raised chickens. Chickens are also they're not vegetarians. They're not supposed to be eating grains and so on. So that's a whole nother thing. But suffice to say that when you are coming off and you are wanting to support yourself and minimize the cravings, then you don't want to caloric restrict like we talked about. You also want to increase your healthy fats. You want to also increase your source of healthy proteins, and that's all going to serve to stabilize your blood sugar and make you feel a whole lot better. Here's the other thing is you want to remove the temptation. Now, at the beginning, we're all excited, aren't we? We're like, I'm going to do a sugar detox, and you are full of motivation. But here's the thing. At some point up here, something is going to twig in the first few days, and you are going to be jonesing for something that I recommend that you do not have. So the way you get around it is you don't have it in your house. So I'm not suggesting you have to throw out your food. You can either gift it, package it up, or do something with it. You just need to take it out of the surrounding area, and that may be a mile. So get a Rubbermaid, go through your cupboards first thing, and just start filling it with all the things that you know are not going to support your decision to go to a low sugar lifestyle. You can decide as you go through the program what you're going to do with those foods, but chances are when you get yourself down to a low sugar lifestyle, you've unwired that addiction, you're going to feel so fabulous that you're not even going to be interested in those foods anymore. But for the time being, when you're doing a sugar detox, you just want to get that whole thing out of Dodge because you cannot rely on motivation 24 hours a day, especially at the beginning, okay? So if there are certain times of the day, let me just get this off here. If there are certain times of the day when you are typically consuming a lot of sugar, then what I'm going to say is set yourself up for success. Change your venue, change your routine, do something different. If coming home and having a healthy dinner is something that you would normally do, but then you sit on the couch and you start thinking about the food, the frozen cake, the crackers, the whatever, I don't even know, the whatever that you know you don't want to consume, and you start going towards it. So here's what you want to do is you just want to, especially in the first week or two, is you want to change the venue, do something else. Unhinge those two things. Remove the connection. They're paired together, unpair them. So don't do the things that will typically put you in that experience where you're craving the sugar, okay? It'll just be so much more helpful. All right, so where do you get your sugar from? Let's talk about this. We know you get them from cookies and candies and things like that, but actually the number one place where people are getting their sugar is they're drinking it. There is tons of sugar in beverages, and most people are unaware of it. In fact, it's the number one place where we get sugar. We know if you were to look at, the Kappa Frappuccino, the Tim Hortons stuff, loaded 60, 70, 80, 90 grams of sugar in one drink. And how many are you supposed to have as an adult? 40 grams or less, which, by the way, is not that hard if you don't drink those things, if you don't consume those kinds of foods, if you eat whole foods. It's easy to stay under 40 grams, but if you're drinking in your sugar, of course, you're just blowing that right out of the water and you're keeping that hardwired chemical addiction going strong, and that's what's difficult. So yes, number one is beverages, but also beverages like, get this, fruit juice. Fruit juice, there's tons of sugar in fruit. And remember, we talked about it. It's fructose. It's the kind that's metabolized in the liver, the kind that tends to be laid down as fat around the organ systems, and is most significantly increasing our chance of heart disease and atherosclerosis. Kids are consuming so much juice. Don't consume juice. Unless it's vegetable juice, hinge it. You can get 50, 60, 70 grams. Those little juice boxes, I actually think I have one here. Hold on. Try not to. I'm going to show you. Sorry, I'm sure that was annoying on your ears. Okay, so let me give you an example because I did this for a Facebook Live the other day. So I have some things. I don't want you to think I have these in the house because I consume them. That I don't. But this little juice box, you would totally put this juice box, you might not, but some people who aren't aware would put this in their kids' lunch. This is 20 grams of sugar. A child should only have 20 grams of sugar. Empty calories. This is unsweetened organic apple juice. 20 grams of sugar. You don't want to be doing that. A can of Coke is, 39 grams of sugar. That's almost 10 teaspoons. 4 grams of sugar on a label is equivalent to 1 teaspoon. The other thing to be aware of are just even things that you don't think. Here we go. Vitamin water, Nestea iced tea. This is an herbal iced tea. This has 23 grams of sugar. Be careful. Even though you might be thinking you're making a good choice, a lot of people are really aware that they don't want to be giving their kids soda, but they think that, it's good to be giving them a fruit juice, even an unsweetened fruit juice, because they're thinking you're getting vitamins and minerals. Give them a piece of red pepper. They'll get all the same vitamin C and more, and they're not going to have the sugar in it, okay? So number 1 is your beverages, so be careful with that. Number 2 are your sauces and your condiments. Take a look at your spaghetti sauce. It's going to blow it's going to blow your mind. Keep in mind when you're looking at a label, you have to look at how many serving sizes are in the actual jar. So the serving size may not look like it has that many grams of sugar, but if you look at the whole bottle and how many servings are in there, you'll be surprised. 20, 30 grams of sugar. Another good reason to make your own, which I don't, but I'm just saying. Okay, so sauces, condiments, barbecue sauce, ketchup, full of sugar. Okay, so that's just a couple things to keep and be mindful of. Fruit, like I said, is a big difference. A cup of raspberries is 4 grams of sugar. A cup of blueberries is 15. A cup of many of the other fruits are 22, 25, 30. Dried fruit, those dried dates that we love to make our raw desserts with. A cup is 93 grams of sugar. Now, are you going to eat a cup? No, but did you think about the fact that there's so much? Now, what is there in fruit that there isn't in candy? Well, there are. There's fiber, and there's minerals, and there's vitamins, and so on. Yes, that's all true. However, the issue is that it's also really, really high in sugar, and it is having the same sugar effect in your body as any other form of sugar, for that matter, for all intents and purposes, and it is hardwiring that addiction over and over and over. So when you start looking at children, you start to really realize that kids are topping it. You see how they get to 140 and 150 and 160 grams of sugar in a day. Okay. So number three, and this is going to speed up, so don't worry. I know you have to go to work tomorrow. The other thing that you want to do when you're thinking about sugar detoxing is you want to set yourself up for success. Don't you? You want to have a whole bunch of things in place so that it starts to work like clockwork. Now, initially, it doesn't happen that way because you have to be so conscious and aware, but it does improve with time. So the first thing I'm going to say is fail to plan, plan to fail. It's not always going to be like this, but at the beginning, you're learning something new. So you need to set yourself up by doing things like having a meal plan. In our sugar detox, you get full meal plans and you get a whole pile of recipes. That makes it easy because then you don't have to ask yourself. I teach you the principles, which you can just go apply on your own. But when you're starting out, it's really, really nice to have a plan. So 30 days of planning, in other words, what you can be eating for snacks, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you can do that for yourself. Totally. Get yourself the right, the right ingredients, get yourself a plan, sit down on a Saturday or Friday evening. I know it's exciting, Friday evening, and write out your meal plan. So create conscious competence by being so aware of what you're doing. Okay. So decide what you're going to do. Here's a couple hints I'm going to say. One of the things that works really well for people is to bulk cook. Bulk cooking means that you're always thinking ahead. Well, you have a meal plan, so you know. But what I'm saying is if tonight you're having chicken breasts and you're grilling 4 chicken breasts, why not grill 8 chicken breasts? It's not any harder. And that will allow you to have 4 more chicken breasts that you can utilize tomorrow in a variety of different ways. Whether you cut that up and you somehow integrate it into your lunch, or that gives you a head start when you start to create your dinner for tomorrow night. Okay. Same thing with, roasted vegetables. Roasted vegetables are so great. First of all, roast all sorts of vegetables. Go to the vegetables you never roast, like the cauliflower and the broccoli and the Brussels sprouts and the fennel, and, use a ton of garlic and use fresh herbs and buy great, great vegetables. If you go to the grocery store that has limp, gross, crusty vegetables from the other side of the planet, that's what it's going to feel like. That's what it tastes like, rather. If you take the time to invest in high quality vegetables, it's going to be so enticing, and it's still great because you can get all sorts of things at your local farmer's market right now, which is fantastic. Okay. So you want to batch cook. So if you're going to make 1 tray of roasted vegetables, make 2 trays of roasted vegetables. Tonight you can use them for dinner. Tomorrow you can saute it up in a pan perhaps and put a couple eggs with it, or you can put it on top of some greens in a salad with that leftover chicken tomorrow night. Or you can simply have it with your dinner tomorrow night. However you want to do it, roasted vegetables are the bomb. I'm telling you, it'll change your life. The other thing that you want to do is, especially this time of year, is you want to think about bulk cooking a couple times a week, maybe on a Sunday or another day in the week where you just do a little bit extra. So for me, I make a big giant dry salad. So if I'm cutting up vegetables to roast, how hard is it for me to cut up a couple extra peppers and this and that and throw it in a big salad with all my greens? So I don't just use one kind of greens. I might use romaine. I might use spinach. I might use, pieces of Swiss chard. I might also use different kinds of sprouts, microgreens, those kinds of things. So layer your basis with different textures, different flavors, different colors. Just make all of that and make it delicious and appetizing. And when you have it in one large bowl, of course, you can take some out, put it aside for tonight's dinner. You can put the dressing on it, eat that, and then you still have this fresh salad that you can put in the fridge. And tomorrow morning or this evening, when you're prepping your lunch for tomorrow, which I highly suggest you do it in the evening, easy peasy, right? You've already got a few things going. Slow cookers and Instapots, although I have to be honest, I've never tried an Instapot, but everyone says they're so great. Use them. They're so awesome. You can, of course, be cooking all sorts of things. You can be making your grass-fed broth and chicken broth, which you can be using for your soups and so on. So lots of things. We get into that more, but I just want to give you some ideas. Okay, snacks. Do not leave home. Imagine that you're a toddler again, and you're not going to leave home without snacks, because snacks, what you don't want to do is you don't want to be out and realize you're hungry, and then you don't know where to eat because you're not used to eating like this. So then you're trying to make a good choice, but you don't have the restaurants at hand. Just don't do that. So you want to make a snack bag for yourself, whether it's on a daily basis or you just want to keep some things in your car. Some of the things that I do is I always bring water with me. I'm prepared all the time with water. It's like attached to me all the time. Nuts, seeds, some very specific low sugar protein bars. Be careful, like a lot of the raw ones are going to have lots of dates and dried fruit. That's going to be off the charts when it comes to sugar. I would also say you want to stay as natural as possible. I really like the Genuine Health fermented bars. Some of them are 9 grams of sugar or less. Now you say 9 grams, I'm only supposed to be having 40. Well, it's easy in the context of a whole day when you're eating whole foods. Okay, so 9 grams isn't such a big deal. Besides, you're not having it all the time. It's in your snack bag in case there's an issue. I love to make a smoothie in the morning. We have lots of smoothie recipes in the Detox. Smoothies are great. They're a great way to get tons of alkalizing greens in there that you can barely even taste. Has an unsweetened beverage as your base or water. It has a fermented protein powder or some other type of protein powder. The protein with maybe some sort of healthy fat like flaxseed oil or avocado or even some coconut oil. You have your fat, you have your protein, and then of course you have some alkalizing greens, maybe a little bit of fruit, a couple other little accoutrements that we put in there. It tastes great. You can have it for your breakfast. You can also bring it to work and you can have it around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you might have originally reached for a granola bar, which you're going to look at tomorrow and you're going to realize is more like a chocolate bar. Okay, so that's a good thing for you to do. Veggies, of course, hard-boiled eggs, clean beef jerky, not teriyaki, not the stuff at the gas station. We're talking a couple brands in Canada, our Beretta or McLean's, all those kinds of things are really good, okay? So snack bags, super, super important. And I want you to be curious. That's how you set yourself up for success. Ask questions, read labels. It's annoying at the beginning. I know it is. I've had frantic texts from people at grocery stores, not sure what to do. I get it. But The only way you're going to get better at this is if you have a curious mind, because the biggest thing is that beginner's mind is an open mind. So, just looking at everything from a different vantage point than you always have will increase your knowledge quotient, and that alone is going to set you up for success over time. Okay, I'm going to get to the thing that people always ask me. If you're sugar detoxing, why do I ask you to reduce or take out grains? I know, shocking point, right? Few reasons. I have an issue with grains in general. If you've never read the book Grain Brain by Dr. David Perlmutter, I highly suggest you do. Go online, you can probably see some videos, but suffice to say that grains are not necessarily your friends. Grains have changed over time, just like other food manufacturers. Lots of different grains have sugar in them, but even if they say they have no sugar, they break down into sugar and have a glycemic load on your body. So if I don't say no to sugar, if I don't say no to grains, you know what happens is you decrease your sugar and you all become grain addicts. That's what people do. I'm telling you from experience. I know this. So then you start eating tons of crackers and tons of wraps. And it's because we're used to eating a certain way. And this is a new program, a new way to eat. And it takes some time to be able to get your body used to it. So what I say to people is for the first 30 days, no grains. You'll be okay. Honest, they're not going anywhere. It will actually help you a ton because you're going to start to diversify your diet. You're going to start to feel so flippin' fantastic when you eat whole foods, properly sourced proteins, plentiful amounts of hydration that is not jonesing your sugar all the time, and tons of hydration, okay? So that's why we say reduce the grains. It continues to keep that connection to the hardwiring of sugar to the brain, and it keeps you connected to the wrong foods. So reducing grains will make you feel fantastic, okay? Tons and tons and tons of carbohydrates. This is not a carbohydrate counting program, but just rest assured, okay? We are a grain-driven society, and we want to get off of that. Number 5, why do you also want a sugar detox? You want to because your brain and your body will definitely reward you. I'm telling you, this will change your life. I don't know that most of us recognize not just how addicted to sugar we are, but how addicted to sugar our kids are. I fear for where this is going over time. I really do. I see what's happening to food manufacturers. I see what's happening to the way that the media and advertising is enticing our children, the types of foods, and I say that loosely, honestly, the kinds of foods that are around us, and the amount of sugar in the things that should not have sugar at all. I mean, it's crazy. And because of that, we have a certain level of addiction. We use it with our adult brain. I mean, we know that we want to eat a certain way, most of us, right? We have good knowledge of a lot of proper traits about how to eat. Children don't necessarily possess that. And when they consume sugar and they're left on their own, they crave it and they seek it out. I'm telling you, go by a high school and go by the strip mall that's down the street from the high school. Kids cannot wait to get out of that school, down the road, and have the sugar. And we are lovingly doing this to our children by, giving them air snacks all the time, giving them things that are bready all the time, so the crackers and the mums and the goldfish and the juices and tons of fruit. Let me tell you, I'm telling you this. I'm not saying this from judgment. I'm saying that I understand. I understand. This is not a judgment face. This is an understanding. So I'm telling you, this is how the physiology of your body works, and it will reward you 1,000 times over. If you focus on sugar, honestly, the rest takes care of itself. The sugar is the thing you need to focus on. You can focus on a lot of things when you're trying to eat healthy. You focus on the sugar, and the rest takes care of itself. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. It takes energy. It does. This is going to take energy. It's new. It's a new level of awareness. It's a new sense of consciousness. You're going to look at things you never looked at before. You are going to be surprised by things. You're going to be rewarded by things, and you will most definitely get frustrated. Mary, she works in a kindergarten class and she cringes. Yeah, the healthy snacks. I know, right, Mary? I totally get that. She's saying she volunteers in a kindergarten class, and I know she's done the sugar detox before, so she has good knowledge. And she is, I guess I'll say in my words, horrified at what people can think are healthy snacks. Again, I know she's not judging anyone. It's just an observation of what is. So here you go. This is as much for you as adults as it can be for your children. So yes, you will get frustrated at times in this program because it's like anything, you're learning something new. I equate it to things like learning how to drive. When you first learned to drive, it was super difficult, wasn't it? You started off by reading a book and then eventually got behind the wheel. And when you got behind the wheel, you were probably pretty bad at it. You made some mistakes and you had to use every single level of mental effort to try and do it properly, didn't you? You had your hands at 10 and 2. You had to focus so much. You turned the radio off because there's no way you could have the music on and do it at the same time. You were consciously becoming competent. That's how it went. And eventually with time, we don't do that anymore, do we? Let's not talk about texting, but we certainly listen to the radio. We carry on conversations. We do all sorts of minor things when we drive. Sometimes we get home, we don't even remember driving home. Why? Because we have unconscious competence. We're unconsciously competent. Not necessarily a good thing, but I'm saying it allows us to function well in life because there's lots of things that we're unconsciously competent at. This may not be one of them. So the process is becoming consciously competent. So this is where you need to know that everything that you do in a sugar detox, when you have the right information, and I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that, but when you have the right information and you're taking the steps and you're just working the program, you're just working towards a low sugar lifestyle, it's all progress. It's never about being perfect. Your body will reward you as you go, 100%. You will feel, and I'm telling you, I know this for myself, I see this in other families, and I know this from people who have done sugar detoxing, is you will feel more energized, you'll feel leaner, you'll feel more clear-headed, your skin will look better, you'll probably lose weight. If you're carrying excess weight, you'll feel leaner and stronger and you'll drop the pounds. Your hormones will be balanced. You'll probably be happier and have less anxiousness if that's something that you are always working with it. And your blood sugar will be stable. Diabetes, I've had people who have been certified diabetics in the program who are not even diabetics anymore. They're completely off of their meds and they're living for the first time in years and years and years a low sugar lifestyle and not having diabetes, which will totally change the entire trajectory of their life, not to mention, their life expectancy. You will sleep better, which this. So many people don't sleep well. It's huge. So taking sugar out of your diet not only normalizes your hormones, but allows your glandular and hormones to function properly and get you in sync with the circadian rhythm in your environment, and you will sleep better. And because you're decreasing inflammation, you are lowering your risk of heart disease. You will normalize your cholesterol along the way. Yes, even with butter. Yes. Even with animal protein, yes. Why? Because we teach you to eat the right ones. Your body can consume this for the most part. I'm making generalizations, but for the vast, vast, vast majority of the people, this works for them, okay? And it is physiologically the way your body was designed to work. So you feel better. So happier, less anxious, stronger immunity, and more importantly, I just sort of think that, you're going to be in control. You will be in control. And this is something that you do for ourselves as adults. And although we tend to drag around our loved ones, I say do it for yourself. But the benefit is the little people in your life and even some of the big people are going to recognize what you're doing. They're going to see you go through the transition. And if you make dinner, they're going to experience some of it on their own. And you're going to be teaching your children new skill sets. You're going to teaching your kids not only are they going to feel differently in their body, but you're going to give them the skill set so this is something that they can carry on. And honestly, that is the thing that makes me the most excited about this. So let's talk about why you join a sugar detox program. My sugar detox program is coming up in a couple of weeks, but here's the reason why you do it. You get the right information. Honestly, that's such a big part of it. I know so many people who are being so diligent in their choices and the way that they're living their life. They're wanting to be health conscious. They think they're being health conscious, and they're not always getting the results that they are trying so hard to achieve. And it's simply because they don't have the right information. And I understand why, because there's so much information out there. So, let me help you get the right information. What is the latest information? It's what science is showing us. Let's go ahead and convey that. That's the reason why you should join a sugar detox. You get meal plans and you get recipes. So it makes it easy for you. You feel like you're supported in the right ways in terms of how you could be eating. You learn the principles, but having 40, 50, 60 recipes to turn to and having sample meal plans just makes it all that much easier. It helps you stay inspired. Let me tell you, at some point, you are going to wax and wane in terms of your motivation, right? That is going to happen. And that's where mentorship and accountability is going to pull you through. We have a private Facebook page that you can join if you want to. You can sit in the background. You can be active. I will tell you, the people who are active are the ones that I feel have had the best results from the program. Why? Because they feel connected. They see the questions other people have. I'm on the Facebook all day long. That's where the mentorship comes through. I'm answering questions. I'm putting product reviews. I'm helping people get better results from their sugar detox. And you're, of course, gaining from that information. I do Facebook Lives on that private page when something comes up, or weekly. We often do weekly webinars, or we have pre-recorded videos of guest experts. So the sort of the breadth and the width of the program starts to deepen, and your knowledge starts to increase as you go through. It's 40 days for a reason. The sugar detox, the actual unwiring, it's only the first few days. The rest of it is getting you into habits and rituals. It's creating that conscious competence that I talked about at the beginning. That's what you're actually gaining from a program. And as you exit out the last part of the 40 days, what everyone recognizes when they're in this program is they've just created a clean eating lifestyle for themselves. They recognize that I started off as a sugar detox. I wanted to do 40 days just to see how I could feel. And they recognize it's something that they can sustain for the rest of their life. So that's amazing. You're going to get a digital and printed guide. You're going to get tons of bonus content, twice weekly, emails with all sorts of extra information. And I'm going to support you. All right. So the next detox starts on October 18th. And yes, that was strategically placed after Canadian Thanksgiving, and strategically placed before Halloween. So by the time Halloween hits, you're going to be locked down through the actual detox part of it. So you're going to be good. October 18th can become one of two things for you. It can be day one, or it can be one day. And I'm telling you, I hope that it's your day one. The program is $199, tremendous value for all the stuff that you get. And I have to tell you this is me. And I'm going to lean in for this. When I do a detox, I'm all in. I'm 100% all in. Your success is so important to me, and you will feel it, not just from me, but you'll feel it from all the people who are doing the program as well. The group is big this time, which is awesome. It means that there's going to be a lot of people doing the same thing as you at the same time, supporting each other, helping each other, educating each other. And I'm going to be not only your biggest cheerleader, but I will be your most loving ass kicker. I'm not kidding you. I'm going to hold you accountable in all the right ways, but I'm also going to encourage you along the way. All right. So that's what I'm going to say. You can go to my website, drlaurafoster.com. I will put the registration information in the email. I hope you'll join us. I know many of you are already registered, but here's the thing. You can do a sugar detox on your own. This is not, it's not beyond your control. I know you can start to lower your sugar. I've given you many, many tools that you can use along the way. If you're looking to up your game and ensure that you want to get where you're going, then I hope you'll join us on the detox. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight, and I hope you have an amazing evening.